Investing is the only real path to wealth, unless you're counting on luck. And let's be honest, luck hasn't exactly made me rich. I'm guessing it hasn't done much for you either. But investing the wrong way? That might be the fastest route to ruin. How many times have you seen someone lose money by investing in something they don't understand? Or worse, something they think they understand? Today we're telling the story of Ezra, a successful merchant who took a chance on an unfamiliar market and paid a steep price for it. And by the end, you'll be asking yourself, are you investing in what you truly know, or just chasing empty promises? Let's travel back to the year 1546 BC. Lesson 3. Gold does not grow where knowledge does not reach. A warm breeze swept through the bustling streets of Darak, carrying the scent of spices, leather, and incense. The marketplace was alive, merchants haggling over prices, artisans proudly displaying their work, and travelers from distant lands sharing stories. Among them walked Ezra, a renowned fabric merchant with an impeccable eye for fine materials. For years, his business had grown steadily, providing him a comfortable life. He understood his trade better than most and had built his fortune without taking unnecessary risks. But that day, something changed. In the heart of the market, a group of traders gathered excitedly around a stall filled with sealed clay pots. Curious, Ezra stepped closer. As one of the pots was opened, an intense, exotic aroma filled the air, something unlike anything he had ever smelled before, carrying the promise of distant lands and untold riches. He frowned, intrigued. "Spices!" a merchant exclaimed, holding up a handful of small golden grains. "This is the future of trade. Anyone who invests now will become a wealthy man." Ezra watched as the men around him nodded enthusiastically. He had never dealt in spices, but the promise of easy riches made his heart race. His fabric business was solid, his reputation well established. But what if he was missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? A deep unease settled in his stomach at the thought of being left behind. "I've seen many grow rich selling fabric," one trader said, his voice steady. "But I've never seen a spice merchant go bankrupt." That hit Ezra right where it mattered. He glanced around. Everyone seemed convinced. His heart pounded. Was he about to pass up the opportunity of a lifetime? Ezra closed his eyes for a moment. His instincts told him to walk away, but then he thought, what if I'm being too cautious? What if I end up falling behind? And so, he gave in. That night, lying in bed, Ezra couldn't sleep. His mind raced with visions of crowded markets, nobles bidding over the rarest spices, and his shelves emptying faster than he could restock them. The more he thought about it, the more certain he became. This was his chance to become something greater. Little did he know this decision would change everything. The next day, he emptied his coffers and purchased a massive shipment of spices. But there was a problem. He knew nothing about this market. Still, he arranged his own caravan to acquire more spices from distant lands. To save time and boost his profits, he chose a rarely traveled route, convinced he would outpace his competitors. The journey started well, but soon the first warning signs appeared. The desert sun was relentless. Their water supplies ran low. The camels grew restless, and the men murmured their concerns. "Ezra, this path is dangerous," one of the seasoned travelers warned. "I've seen caravans vanish beneath the fury of the desert." But Ezra refused to listen. He was a businessman, someone who took calculated risks and reaped the rewards. After all, success didn't come to those who hesitated. Then it happened. At first, it was just a whisper in the wind. Then, a scream. The camels reared up in panic. The men turned to the horizon, terror in their eyes. A wall of sand was rising, devouring everything in its path. "Run!" someone shouted. The storm struck like an invisible beast, tearing through the caravan, ripping away sacks of spices, supplies, even men. Ezra gripped the reins, but the force knocked him back. The sand burned against his skin. He gasped for air, his lungs filling with dust. And then, silence. When he finally rose to his feet, Everything was gone. His caravan lay in ruins. The camels had fled. His men were scattered. His fortune, his prized spices, had vanished into the endless sea of sand. He fell to his knees, a chill running down his spine despite the scorching heat. "What have I done?" he whispered, his voice hoarse with despair. With nothing left but the clothes on his back, Ezra made his way home to Daruk. He walked the same streets where he had once been respected, now avoiding the gaze of other merchants. He sat in front of his old shop, now empty. That's when he heard a deep voice beside him. "Gold does not grow where knowledge does not reach, Ezra." It was an old merchant, a man he had admired for years but had never sought advice from. The man sat beside him and continued, "You had a great business, but you abandoned it for an empty promise. Spices can bring riches, yes, but only to those who understand their secrets. You trusted the shine of gold without knowing the land it came from." Ezra closed his eyes. It all made sense now. He hadn't invested. He had gambled, and like so many gamblers before him, he had lost everything. With great effort, he started over. He returned to his old trade, dealing in fabrics, learning from every mistake. He worked hard, but this time he worked wisely. Years passed, and he rebuilt his fortune, stronger and more stable than before. Now he no longer chased easy promises. He learned to invest in what he truly understood. One day, a young merchant approached him, eyes gleaming with excitement. "Ezra, they say horses are the business of the future. I'm thinking of selling everything to invest. What do you think?" Ezra smiled, placed a hand on the young man's shoulder and said, "My friend, let me tell you a story about a sandstorm." Just like Ezra learned the hard way, many people today invest in things they don't understand and end up paying a high price. But what about you? Are you investing in what you truly know, or just chasing empty promises? Share in the comments if you've ever faced a similar situation and how you handled it. And if you want to learn more financial lessons through powerful stories, subscribe to the channel now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next lesson. See you in the next video.